Greetings everyone, and welcome to another Halloween horror movie review. Today we'll be talking about a pair of films, actually, that I remember hearing a lot about the first one when it came out, being careful to avoid spoilers, of course, but I just heard that it was quite different, quite scary, quite unique, and not at all what you might expect by looking at the cover. What am I talking about? Insidious. Can we see that a little bit? There we go. Insidious. And its sequel, Insidious Chapter 2. There we go. Sort of. Yes. I'll hold them up a little close. Well, if I hold them up closer, you can't see them because the light isn't over there. Dramatic lighting and all that. Anyway, yeah, Insidious Part 1 and 2. That's what we're going to talk about today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So I remember when this came out, I just recall hearing a lot of people talking about it and saying that it was really well done and a lot of twists and turns and don't give away the surprise and stuff like that. Yeah, so I've been really curious about this for a while. I mean, from the cover, I had always thought it was going to be some kind of like Exorcist / Omen wannabe, you know, the obligatory creepy little kid movie, but while it does have some creepy little kid aspects to it, that's not the sole thing. It's actually a very small part of it. What this really is, again, trying to avoid some spoilers for you if you haven't seen it, what this really is basically a haunted house movie, but a haunted house movie with some pretty cool twists. Yeah, needless to say, I really enjoyed this a lot. I think it's got a pretty rich story, and I should mention, if you watch the first one, you probably want to pick up the second one as well and do what I did and double bill them, because the first one leaves off with a killer cliffhanger. The second one also leaves off with a killer cliffhanger. There is a third one in the works, so it is a proper continuing story, and you know, I think a very entertaining twist on the haunted house genre. But, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So it's got, you know, the haunted house aspect of it. It's got some really creepy, you know, scares. A lot of jump scares in it, of course, as there always is in modern horror movies. But there's also just a lot of creeping dread and atmosphere and such as, you know, as the main characters are trying to figure out what they're doing. One thing I like about it, I will give this part away. One thing I like about it is throughout the entire first half of the movie is basically a young couple goes, you know, gets their dream house, and, you know, as you would expect from a haunted house movie, it turns out their dream house is ridiculously haunted and completely against the norm for a horror movie. About halfway through, the wife is just like, "We have to get out of here," and then the husband says, "Okay, we'll go." And there you go. The end. And the movie's over. No. So then they move. But I thought, wow, you don't see that very often. Normally they stay in the ridiculously haunted house for some convoluted reason and just kind of tough out the horror until it reaches a crescendo in the third act and it becomes, you know, a big battle for survival. Now, that said, you know, said things do happen, but not in the way that you would normally expect. There is basically not just one haunted house in this movie. And, well, I guess I'll give this little thing away, too. It may not necessarily be the house that's haunted. Yeah. So this is where we kind of get into the creepy little kid thing. It's like, it may not be the house that's got ghosts attached to it. It may be the kid with ghosts attached to it, which to me is interesting because the I guess I can't really do a review without spoilers. Sorry. Anyway, it's interesting to me because that's actually something that you see in Japanese folklore and horror stories, rather than a location being haunted. Well, they'll have that, but they'll also have a person being haunted, where a ghost attaches itself to that person and affects them in some way. So so it's pretty interesting. So there's a lot of novel twists in this. Now that said, it's I thought this was going to be like a really big studio production, but I don't think it is. It just has kind of a low budget movie vibe to it, but not in a bad way. Just some of the actors were, you know, not quite the same caliber that you might see in a big budget production, but they get the job done. You know, they get the job done, and it's fine. I mean, you're really, I'd say watch Insidious for the story, because it's really got a good story. The second one, as a continuation of the story, I thought was fantastic. Like, I really like it. Really ties in to key moments from the first one in, I think, really interesting ways. Which I really liked a lot, actually. When I saw those connections, I was like, oh, so that's why that happened in the first one. That actually makes sense now. And just how it all ties together is actually really quite well thought out and clever. Because there are moments in the first one where certain things happen, and you're just kind of scratching your head like, oh, okay. And you just kind of assume, like, oh, I guess that was related to that. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't related to that. Maybe there's something else going on, which, you know, we find out about in the second one. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend checking them out if you enjoy a good ghost story with a bit of a twist. There's a really scary, you know, character, like sort of the main evil character in the first one, which some people stupidly said was looked like Darth Maul. And I will confess that is kind of what I thought at first when I first saw the facial design of the evil, one of the main evil characters in it. But I mean, come on, like the red-faced demon has been a part of our lore since the dawn of lore. So don't tell me, don't try to pull some stupid elitist card that, oh, because Star Wars did it, now nobody can have the red-faced demon. Fuck you. Like, come on, that's just stupid. Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, this red-faced demon is quite different from Darth Maul. He's not carrying a lightsaber around, for one thing. He's not a Sith Lord, for another thing. Yeah, there's a slight similarity in the facial design, but when you actually look at it, you realize, oh, it's actually quite different. And when you discover what it actually is and how it's making its face look like that, it is very different. Just, you know, red and black. So I mean, come on, Darth Maul doesn't have the corner on the red and black-faced demon market. Give me a break. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it for the story. I enjoyed it for the atmosphere, and I will definitely be tuning in for the third one when it comes out. So, Insidious, a haunted house saga, quite different from anything you've seen before. I mean, there's lots of little callbacks to stuff you have seen before, but then they do it in a slightly different way. So I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I will definitely watch it again. Now, in terms of extras, we've got a few things on here, some behind-the-scenes stuff. Horror 101, the exclusive seminar, which is an interview with James Wan and who the hell else was it? The producer, the writer, the producer? I can't remember. Anyway, James Wan, one of the directors of Saw and, of course, Paranormal Activity, and become something of a modern, you know, one of the go-to modern horror director guys. That's a cool little featurette because he talks about sort of his philosophy with horror and what he likes to do and how he likes to take some of those conventional things and turn them on their ear a little bit. And it was interesting. I enjoyed that interview very much. They have On Set with Insidious, and this was actually pretty cool as well because there's a lot of, you know, kind of fly-on-the-wall footage from the actual filming of the movie, and the little boy who's in it, was you know, quite a young actor, and James Wan was saying how, you know, he liked to work really closely with the young actors because there were certain, you know, very intense moments where, you know, the actor was becoming nervous because he's just a kid, right? So he's seeing all these sets and things and monsters and stuff, and it's scary stuff. So James took a lot of time with him to introduce him to the actors playing the monsters and the ghosts and stuff, and to show how the makeup was done and things like that, to give him real insight into the process, and that, you know, this is just all make believe. It's very elaborate make believe, but it's just you know, it's just like when you pretend with your friends or with your imagination and stuff. And it was really cool. Like, you could see the look on the kid's face, just like eyes wide with wonder as he's seeing the magic of movie making and how it's all put together and stuff. The other thing I should mention is very little CG in this. It's actually almost all practical effects, which, you know, big thumbs up from me. You know, I'm big on that. So that was really cool. And then finally we have Insidious Entities. Yeah, there's actually some really cool ghost characters in this. Some genuinely scary ghosts throughout, and it's cool because the ghosts that you see, they all have their own little stories. Like, some of them are related to the bigger story, some of them are just kind of asides, like these are just ghosts that, you know, entities that lived here at some point, and this is their story and what happened to them. And it's interesting to see that, because you sort of see their you know, crucial moments of horror and whatnot, and what made them tormented souls played out for you, and stuff like that. So there's a featurette there about the various entities that you encounter throughout the movie, and pretty cool. And here, I don't think I've actually looked at much of the extras on this one, because originally I I watched these both in one night, and I had to work the next day, so I just kind of blew through them. I was originally only going to watch a little bit of Chapter 2 and then go to bed, but then it just sucked me in, and I ended up watching the whole thing, and by then I was so exhausted I had to go to bed. So this one, we've got some more special features. We've got peripheral vision, behind the scenes, ghostly transformation, Leigh Whannell's Insidious Journal, The Haunting of Insidious 2, work in progress, on-set Q&A, and 3 spectral sightings webisodes. Oh, by the way, I should mention, I completely forgot, it's been about a week or so since I watched the movie, and I've been watching a lot of movies. It's easy to forget things. There's a pair of paranormal investigators. That's who it was. One of them was the writer. That's who was in the other interview. Yeah, and he also plays one of the paranormal investigators. But I just love these characters. They're just the most hapless, you know, I mean, they're serious and they're good at what they do, but the sort of passive-aggressive bickering between them I find absolutely hilarious and endearing. I really, really love those characters. And yes, they're in both of them. They are recurring characters. And provide some, you know, much needed but fairly low-key comic relief to relieve a bit of the tension. I liked how those characters were done. I mean, they could have been very over-the-top and slapsticky, and, you know, you've seen those types of paranormal investigators in other movies before, but the way these characters were played was actually fairly subdued. I mean, they're very funny, but not in a, you know, an over-the-top sort of way. Their humor is very subtle. It's more to do with their reactions and how they, as I say, passively, aggressively bicker with each other. There's no, like, yelling. There's no, like, flat-out insulting, but they're very quiet. Like, one will say something, and the other one will just be like, no, that's wrong. You know, it's just stuff like that. Just very subtle. I mean, I can't remember any of the lines off the top of my head. I just remember enjoying them at the time. So, anyway, yeah, Insidious, Chapter 1 and 2. I liked them both. Honestly, I don't know why people have such a big problem with the second one, because to me the second one is right in line with the first one, and as I say, connects with it in some really clever ways, and you don't see stuff like that. I'll put it this way: Doctor Who fans, you'll probably like the way it connects the two movies together. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, that's what we'll say. Yeah. And, you know, as a fan of that type of thing myself, I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it. And in particular, so now I'm curious, with the third one coming out, I'm curious if there's even more moments in the first one that we saw that may connect to that, and then moments in the second one that it's just getting, you know, more and more twisty-turny, but it all fits together. It's like a big, complicated jigsaw puzzle, and I like that. It's not often that you know, a horror franchise kind of challenges the viewer like that to pay attention to the connections and so forth. So, Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Now, as for James Wan, I have not seen. I know I have the collector's set up there that I think it was Ishimura Crewman sent me a while back. I still have not actually watched any of the Saw movies. I haven't seen any of them. There's actually a Blu-ray set coming out that apparently has all 7 of the unrated cuts. So I'll probably pick that up. The set's fairly cheap, and then just marathon them, because now, and I have seen the first Paranormal Activity, but I haven't seen any of the sequels. I know Stoudman is a huge fan of the Paranormal Activity movies. So now, having enjoyed Insidious so much, I'm very curious about James Wan's other horror endeavors. So I definitely plan to check out those other 2 franchises in full at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this Halloween. Might be a little after Halloween. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, that is it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.